Good morning and welcome on in to North Dakota. Today we have another episode of This Is How You Make It with the John David Berdahl. Good morning.
Hello, hi. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely.
I was about to say for
We're feeling
everything.
extra crafty today.
Oh, good.
So we'll dive right in. What are we doing?
Okay, so yeah, we're going to be working on community art or mural art based on Keith Haring's sort of technique or style. Okay, and if anyone doesn't know who Keith Haring was, he was pretty popular late 80s, 90s street art, you know, sort of popular, or I guess really serious issues that he was dealing with really colorful sort of art, you know, in a really playful way. Yeah. You know, yeah. That's why he would paint murals. He also worked on sculptures and whatnot. Yeah.
So,
oh, wait, here, there you go.
There we go.
There we
right
go. Here's an
behind
example.
us.
Here's an example.
And then
oh, yeah.
you actually just taught a class
yes, I
on
did.
this as well.
Yes, I did. Yeah, so this is what I made. You know, and since I am known now for speaking about autism, presenting about autism, living that autistic life, I had puzzle pieces, these individuals holding a whole bunch of puzzle pieces. You know, so that's what I worked on in the class.
Nice.
You know, very fast. It was, I mean, fast for, you know, artwork. So it was about, I don't know, 20 minutes.
Wow.
Half hour.
So it looks simple, but it doesn't look easy per se.
Yeah, there's steps. There's steps to this whole,
love it.
Oh, pardon me. Yeah, there's steps to this whole thing.
Okay.
You know, and so basically what you ought to work on first is the background.
Okay.
Okay, and you could sketch what you're going to be working on first before painting it. You don't have to, but some people do that sort of thing. Here's a pencil. Here's another one. Here's another one. Shall I do that for the rest of like the segment? Here's a pencil and here's a pencil.
Yes.
He just kept doing that.
So we have these little
just
pieces of paper that we'll be working with.
Yeah,
So
and I got a bigger sheet in case you think you need it, but I just gave you a smaller one because we only have so much time.
And then tons of acrylic paint over here.
Absolutely, lots and lots of colors, lots and lots of. You don't like he. It looked like he worked in very like thick, opaque, you know, sort of primary and secondary colors. Really, not a lot of in between colors. You know.
So would you recommend like just kind of painting the background color first?
You could if you're not going to sketch it. Yeah, go ahead and paint the background, and it ought to dry, you know, rather quickly. If it doesn't as quickly as it ought to, it still ought not to mix too much. Okay. And this type of paper is a watercolor paper that we're working with, but it'll still work out pretty well.
Gotcha.
You know, and when you're painting on a type of paper, I brought these just sort of examples. Here's blue, you know, on a type of paper.
Nice.
Or this type of paper.
Yeah.
Make certain it's as even as possible, because if some areas are a little too wet, you know, and if they dry at different times or at different ways, okay, it's going to buckle or bend.
Oh, I see.
Okay, and that's what causes that. You know, part of it is still wet, while another part is drying. So keep that in mind.
So we are dispersing our paint.
Yes, and I got different types of Sharpies, and that's what I did on that painting that I just showed you, or I guess on that piece of art. It's a mixed media piece technically, because I began with graphite. I applied acrylic paint, and then I had these Sharpies, okay? Now we've got the sort of standard Sharpie, we got the king size, and then we got the Magnum.
Whoa!
Ooh,
I didn't even know Sharpies
Nice.
went up sizes like
you know,
that.
look at that. Thank goodness I'm here, right?
Thank
Funny.
goodness.
Yes, oh.
Our Sharpie education.
My heart was in my throat.
That was
About
a good
Sharpie.
Kermit impression.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So that was more just this region impression.
So tell me how your class went on this.
It went very, very well. Gosh, we discussed so much about, well, I gave the room, you know, time to think about, okay, what are you going to be working on?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to give you. I'm not just going to tell you what to make. Okay, and we saw an example, and I can hold this up again.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm not just going to say you have to make this, because primarily I ought to teach creativity.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I can teach, you know, sort of techniques, and as I talked about, steps and stages in a process or a practice, you know, but you ought to find out how you make something, the way you make it, and that's what makes art powerful. That's what makes art unique, you know, and different. You know, and singular. So I gave the room, again, some time, and it's kind of like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you what to do, you know.
And that
Now,
stresses some people out.
Yeah, it can. And I've had some students say, just tell me what to do. And I'm like, okay, sure. You know, and so I will just, sometimes I work on their piece for them or with them.
Yep.
But when I do that, it becomes my piece.
Yeah.
You know, it becomes my art.
Okay.
You know, yeah, so that ought to dry a little bit. And then, yeah, so we've got so many other colors here. If you're going to be putting yellow over that, probably mix it with white.
Okay.
Yep, it'll be more opaque that way.
We've established our background colors, and we are going to head to commercial, but don't go anywhere because we'll be right back with John David Berdahl after this break with a little progress update.
Yeah.